Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto was the son of Artemis, the godlike Naruto. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. A young teen boy stood in front of the gates of Mount Olympus, home of the Greek gods. The teen boy had silver hair due to the moon with two bangs framing his handsome face. He had 3 whisker marks on each cheek, tanned skin, and purple eyes with I missed on the edges due to the merge of Kyuubi and a bloodline from Athena. He was well built for a 12-year-old and was about 5 feet 4 feet tall. He also had an elegant silver bow and arrow on the back. The boy wore a silver short-sleeved shirt under a black trench cloak that had a lightning bolt in the middle, a symbol of Zeus, with red flames licking the bottom. He had black shinobi pants with a lot of pockets containing weapons and scrolls, gifts from the Greek gods. He also had black shinobi sandals and 3 scrolls attached to his gray belt. 1 black, 1 white, and 1 red. He also wore gray, fingerless gloves that had an owl on one side and a moon on the other. His name was Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, son of the Yondaime, and he was also the jailer of Kyuubi. He was, surprisingly, son of one of the Greek gods, Artemis, goddess of the hunt. He was the only one who she deeply cared for. She also cared for her father, Zeus. Naruto hugged his mother goodbye. Artemis hugged him back gently with a smile on her face. She was beautiful with stern silver eyes and silver hair in a bun with 2 bangs framing her pale face. Think of Haku's hairstyle. She had a slender but built body due to a lot of hunting. She wore a silver Greek dress that reached up to her thighs with silver Greek sandals along with a bow and arrow on her back. Goodbye, Ka-san, Naruto smiled. Artemis smiled back. The Greek gods along with the Japanese gods know all of the languages in the world. I hope you will visit sometime soon, she said. Her brother, Apollo, grinned at his favorite and only nephew. He was handsome and athletic looking with light blonde hair and bright yellow eyes. He was tanned due to spending too much time in the sun. He wore a white short-sleeved shirt along with black shorts with yellow Greek sandals. Like his sister, Artemis, he also had a bow and arrow, but it was bright orange with a yellow glow around it. I hope you show that old medic your skills when you meet her. I want to see my nephew surpass her medical skills, Apollo grinned. Naruto grinned at him and all of the Greek gods. I hope I can visit when I have the time. I'll come back for more training to defeat the Titans, he said. The Greek gods looked grim but nodded. Zeus smiled gently at his favorite grandson and walked in front of him. I hope this will come to use for you in the future, he said, giving Naruto a bright yellow scroll. It was a summoning contract for the dragons. Arigato, Zeus-sama, Naruto bowed as he tucked it in one of his pockets. Before he went back to the real world, he turned to one of his favorite goddess and whom he considers an aunt, Athena, goddess of wisdom and battle. Athena had stern gray eyes that showed wisdom and knowledge and had wavy black hair up to her shoulders. Her helmet was finally off for once, showing her stern, yet showing wisdom, face. She wore a Greek tunic with a gray cape on the back. She wore Greek sandals and had a shield showing a monstrous face of Medusa. Athena-sama, I thank you for your wisdom and knowledge that you've given me. I wanted to repay, so I made a small gift for you. Naruto bowed as he took out a wrapped blanket. Athena smiled and took the wrapped sheet. Thank you, Naruto. I hope the owl contract will be a repayment for your generous gift, she said. Naruto grinned and gave her a hug. Goodbye, Athena-sensei. He turned towards Iris, goddess of the rainbows. She nodded and shot a colorful energy ball towards him. Naruto smiled at the gods and disappeared in the rainbow mist. Ares sighed. It's not gonna be fun without the brat here. Most of the gods agreed. They already missed the blonde Gaki and his pranks. Athena unwrapped the soft blanket and gasped, catching everyone's attention. Ares, Apollo, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hephaestus whistled. It was a beautiful long dagger with a white blade and a gray hilt that had the kanji, gray wisdom, on it. It was about 7 inches long and had a gray owl imprinted on the blade. There was a small note on top of it that said, "To Athena from Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki." Athena opened it and read the note. Dear Sensei, I hope this dagger will be great use to you since I broke your old one. I asked Hephaestus-sama to teach me how to make weapons and he agreed. This is the first weapon I made. It has magic for whenever you throw it, it will come back to you every time no matter how far the distance. Thank you for everything, Naruto. Konaha gates. Naruto sighed as he walked back to Konaha, his old home. He remembered when he first met his mother while being chased by a mob. Flashback. Die fucking demon. You killed my sister. You killed the Yondaime. I hope you burn in hell where you belong, hell spawn. Naruto ran faster as the mob came closer. He doesn't understand what they were talking about or what he did wrong. He was 5 years old for Kami's sake. He just wanted to be alone. Naruto tripped on a rock and fell on the ground. The mob laughed as they took out their weapons. Before they could even strike, 2 lights appeared, blinding the villagers along with Naruto. There stood 2 beautiful goddesses, Athena and Artemis. Athena glared at the villagers with her flashing gray eyes. Artemis ran to help Naruto. Why would you do such a thing to a mere child? Athena asked. Who the fuck are you? One of the villagers shouted angrily. Na glared harder, making the villagers shit in their pants. It's a pity why we even created such mindless creatures like you. I am Athena, the goddess of wisdom and battle. The villagers shit their pants again. He killed our loved ones and needs to suffer. Make him suffer, not us. One Junin shouted bravely. There were shouts of agreement among the crowd. Artemis recognized Naruto and gasped. Naruto. Naruto stared at her confusedly. How do you know my name, miss? Artemis smiled and hugged him like a mother would. I found you. I thought you were dead. Athena smiled at the bittersweet reunion and glared at the villagers. For your sins, you shall pay for what you have done. He isn't the Kyuubi, just a poor boy. Athena readied her shield and Artemis told Naruto to hide behind the trees. Athena quickly took out a spear and slashed half of the villagers. Artemis shot them with her deadly arrows accurately in the chests. Dead villagers surrounded them with blood everywhere. Artemis turned towards Naruto and smiled. That was their reunion as a lost son and an enraged and saddened mother. End flashback. Naruto stood in front of the gates of Konaha and stopped. Halt. State your name and your purpose here. Kotetsu shouted. Naruto looked up lazily and grinned. Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki. I came here to become a Konaha shinobi due to the Sandame's recommendation. The guards were shocked. Namikaze. Azumo stuttered. Naruto smirked. I love this. I wish I had a camera. Yeah, you heard right. I'm the Yondaime's son and the heir to the Namikaze clan. Kotetsu and Azumo looked like they were ready to faint. You may enter, Azumo finally said after a long silence. Naruto smirked and walked through the busy streets of Konaha. Look out, world. Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki. I is back and he's going to raise a giant uproar. Thank you. I hope you review about the couples. Also there will be a regular Naruto pairing, so you can vote for one of the Naruto characters, except for Sasuke, Sakura, and Hinata. Here is the list for the Japanese gods and goddesses. God of Thunder. Hikari goddess of light. Natsumi god of fire and will. Kimiko goddess of the blades. Shinigami ruler of the underworld. Kami female ruler of heaven. Makuo god of insanity and pressure. Miku goddess of healing and medicine. Kato lord of the sea. Luka goddess of the ocean. Kim god of the sun. Akira goddess of the moon and animals. Sora god of nature and living creatures. Rin goddess of trickery and wisdom. Shinji god of art, music, and drama. Please review. Welcome to Konaha. Thank you for the reviews. Okay, here are the pairings votes. Naruto characters Kin 1 vote. Greek, Japanese goddess Nemesis 1 vote. Hope you keep on reviewing and voting. Let's get on with the story. Also, for those who put the Titans Rising story in their favorites list, I deleted it since this is the real story and the computer accidentally put on that story. This is the original story. Don't worry, this is the same as the other one. Hokage's tower. The Sandame sighed and rubbed his temples in frustration. He had to face his greatest enemies in the whole world. Paperwork. Sighing, he started to sign the documents and such. Then the door slammed open. Sarutobi sighed and couldn't see the visitor because of the mountains of paperwork in front of him. Is it paperwork? The visitor, who was Naruto, smirked and replied in a voice that sounded too much like Minato. Mental note. Thank Athena when I come back to Olympus that she gave me the bloodline to mimic other people's voices, abilities, attitude, etc. Long time no see, Sarutobi-san, Minato said. Sarutobi choked on his sake in shock and widened his eyes. Minato. Naruto smirked sadistically just like a certain snake mistress, only more scarier. Dango shop. A purple-haired kunoichi sneezed and rubbed her nose. Someone's talking about me. Better not be the pervert, she mumbled. She shrugged it off and continued to swallow a mouthful of dango. Back to the tower. Naruto slowly walked towards the desk and peered over the paperwork. He shuddered slightly. I'm not becoming Hokage. Too much paperwork. Oi, Gigi, why don't you just use the Kage Bunshin to do the fucking paperwork? He smirked. Sarutobi shoved the paperworks out of the way to see the newcomer. He widened his eyes as he saw who it was. Naruto, he asked hesitantly. Naruto had a foxy grin on his face. Long time no see, Gigi. Sarutobi smiled, was happy to see his grandson back, but his eyes held shame and sadness. Naruto noticed this and looked at the floor with hurt written all over his face. Sorry, Gigi, didn't mean to scare you like that. Sarutobi only smiled and motioned him to sit down. Naruto looked up and frowned. You need to change your secretary, Gigi. She's loud, a fucking bitch, has a huge forehead, and her hair is pink. What kind of person has pink hair? Did she dye it or something? And what kind of perso? N has silver hair and purple eyes with a strange gray mist on the edges. Sarutobi countered back. Naruto grumbled about stupid Hokages and their observation skills. Sarutobi then ordered that the ANBU leave his office and put on a silence seal in the room. It's not my fault that my mother was the goddess of the moon and that I had to hunt mostly at night when the moon is full. The rays of the moon changed my hair to silver since I hunted too much. Also, the eyes are purple because I merged with the Kyuubi and the gray mist is from Athena herself. Sarutobi gawked at him with wide eyes. Yo, you know about the Kyuubi and you merged with him? Naruto nodded. Both of them combined made a very powerful and unique Kekkei Genkai. I call it the Kitsune Mist. It allows me to copy my opponent's ninjutsu, genjutsu, taijutsu, fuinjutsu, etc., and I can even copy the Juken stance and other bloodlines along with the clan's ninjutsu and all that bunch of shit. Also, I can block the Sharingan T. Oh, copy my moves and it's stronger than the Sharingan or the Byakugan. Neat, huh? Sarutobi gawked at him again. The Hyuga and the other clans will be in total shit right now. Okay Naruto, any other bloodlines? He asked, smoking on his pipe. Naruto frowned and started to count his fingers. I think, probably 8 bloodlines. He said, scratching his chin. Sarutobi widened his eyes. Can you tell me? Naruto nodded and started to talk. My first one is the Kitsune Ms. T, as you can see. My second one is called Elemental, and allows me to control all of the elements. It's useful since I don't need to waste my fucking chakra on my fucking opponents, remember? He's sadistic and has a foul mouth, so he's going to curse a lot. I think Ares is rubbing off on him. My third bloodline is called Psychic Mind, meaning that I can read minds and force the secrets out of a person's mouth. It's useful for the torture and interrogation units since I can show them their fears and make them suffer. Hehehe. Naruto laughed evilly, making Sarutobi shudder. What did you do to him, Artemis? Anyways, my fourth bloodline is what I used on you, called Imitator, meaning that I can copy someone's abilities, attitude, voice, facial expressions, info, etc. It's fun to use on people and making them scared shitless. My fifth bloodline is called Hellbringer, meaning that I can cast powerful jutsus on my opponents and make them see their own deaths and in hell with Shinigami and Hades. Although, it's been a long time since I've seen Shinigami or Hades. He ignored the shocked look on the Sandame's face. Naruto continued. My sixth bloodline is called Music Illusion, that was given by my uncle, Apollo, Euterpe, Muse of Music, and Shinji combined. It allows me to use any musical instrument and use it against my opponents to trap them in a genjutsu or for attacking. I can even create my own instruments and it's fun to see my opponents writhe in pain and screaming for mercy. Oh, gods, I think Nemesis and Ares are rubbing off on me. Anyways, back on topic. My 7th bloodline is called Graceful Movements, which allows me to become flexible and dodge my opponent's move very easily. Hera, Queen of Olympus, gave it to me when I was 7. My last bloodline is called Analyzer, which was given to me by Athena. It allows me to know everything about my opponent, which includes likes, dislikes, hobbies, jutsus, etc. Yep, that's pretty much it. Sarutobi nodded and released smoke from his mouth. Tell me your abilities, Naruto. Naruto smirked and put both of his feet on the desk. I'm mostly cage level in everything. Training with the gods has paid off. Nay, Gigi, can I join the academy? My mom said that I should associate with the midgets and make some decent friends instead of making friends with the animals, nymphs, dryads, and the other gods. Sarutobi grinned and nodded but had a shocked look in his eyes. You will go tomorrow. I'll sign your registration form for the academy. Also, you can stay at your father's house. Here are the keys and the directions. The academy starts at 8:00 in the morning. Sarutobi handed Naruto the keys and directions. Naruto then used the Hiraishin no Jutsu to get out of the office. Sarutobi jaws dropped. I'm too old for this shit, he mutters, rubbing his temples. Namikaze compound. Naruto whistled as he saw the huge compound. Holy motherfucking shit, I'm going to live in here. There was a mansion behind the gates of the compound and it was huge. The mansion was white with golden interior around it and had a dojo on the side of the house. There was a little pond with small fishes swimming around it and a huge backyard. Naruto walked towards the gate and wrote his name with blood on it. The gate opened very slowly and Naruto was shivering from excitement. He ran towards the mansion and opened the door. He whistled again. Inside the mansion were a lot of hallways and empty rooms. There was a living room with a flat-screen TV, a comfy blue couch, a mat with a flower design on the floor, and a small table that had a picture of his mom and dad. It's been a long time since I visited them in the fields of Elysium. I think I'll visit them in a few months. He picked it up and brushed the dust from the picture. Naruto smiled and put it down. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he exclaimed. 25 clones appeared and nodded. They ran off in the house and started to clean or unpack. Naruto smiled. This will be a fucking long day. The next morning, Naruto slowly opened his eyes and the sunlight streamed in from the window. He picked the largest room since he had many stuff to unpack. His bed was big and comfortable with light yellow sheets that had the sun in the middle. The wall was painted the same color as the sheet and there were pictures of Mt. Olympus on the walls including New York City, Japan, Korea, France, Italy, Florida, etc. There was a small desk under the walls with scrolls and books piled onto each other and there were notes on seals that looked so complicated. On the desk was a picture of the 12 Olympian gods and the 12 Japanese gods with him in the middle. Everyone was smiling or making funny faces. Naruto looked at the clock. 7:35. He bolted out of bed and looked in his closet for some clothes. He picked clothes that Athena made for him. He wore a gray trench cloak with owl on the back, a black shirt under the cloak, silver baggy pants with scrolls in the pockets, a black belt strapped around his waist with his 3 scrolls, silver sandals, and black fingerless gloves. He looked hot and cool. He ran downstairs in the kitchen and took out an apple. Naruto then shushed to the academy. Academy. Iruka sighed. The class was shouting and playing around with their friends. Fangirls crowded around Sasuke and started to ask him on dates. Iruka got a tick mark on his head and used his scary big head no jutsu. Shut up and sit down, he shouted. Silence. Iruka sighed in relief and started to do attendance. After he was done he said, "Okay class. We have a new student today so please make him feel comfortable." Then there was a swirl of moonlight beams and silver feathers. Everyone stared at Naruto with their jaws dropped that had his hands behind his head. Naruto smirked. The name is Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki. Yeah, I'm the son of the Yondaime, Minato Namikaze. In case you haven't noticed and the last heir to the clan. I came here from one of the most beautiful places on earth and yeah. All of the girls blushed or squealed. Ino smirked. You can have Sasuke, forehead girl. I'm taking him. Sakura glared at her. I'm the on who's taking him, Ino pig. They started to bicker along with the other girls. Iruka used the jutsu again and they calmed down. Sasuke stared at Naruto and can feel the power radiating from him. I need that power. I'm gonna make him to train me so I can defeat my brother and avenge my clan. Iruka shook his head and said, please sit next to Shikamaru there. Naruto smirked and walked towards the lazy Nara. This is troublesome, Naruto muttered looking around the class. Shikamaru opened his eyes and analyzed Naruto. He got up slowly in a sitting position and had a small smile on his face. You're not bad, Naruto smirked. Shogi. Shikamaru grinned and took out a shogi board. They started to play while Iruka was making lectures. Checkmate. Naruto smiled. Shikamaru stared at the board and then back at Naruto. Rematch, he said. Naruto smiled and started to put the pieces back into place. End of Academy. Naruto walked out of the academy and saw Shikamaru waiting for him with a big boy next to him munching on chips. He recognized that guy. It was Choji Akamichi. This is Choji. He's a friend of mine. Naruto nodded and stuck out his hand. Nice to meet ya. The name's Naruto. Choji smiled and shook his hand. The name's Choji. Naruto grinned. Hope we become good friends. Choji nodded and smiled. Hokage Tower. Naruto arrived in the Sandame's office and saw 7 Junins talking to him. They looked at him and he sweat dropped. Sorry. Did I interrupt? Sarutobi smiled and shook his head. No Naruto. I wanted to introduce you to these Junins. That's Kakashi Hatake. Kakashi waved lazily at Naruto without looking at him since his nose was buried in his book. You read that shit. What the fuck is wrong with the men these days? Naruto said. A woman with spiky purple hair grinned at him. I like this kid, she laughed. Kakashi glanced at Naruto and stuffed the book in his pocket. Sarutobi sighed. That's Anko Mitarashi, one of the interrogators in the unit. That's Gecko Hayate, a master at Kenjutsu in Konaha. Hayate looked pale and sick. It's nice. Cough. To meet you. Cough. Naruto-san. Cough. He said. Naruto frowned. You have that disease. Hayate looked shocked and slowly nodded his head. Naruto sighed. I think I can heal that. Sarutobi shook his head. Tsunade tried it before while she was in Konoha but she couldn't do it. Naruto grinned. Do you know Apollo and Miku? He asked. Sarutobi and everyone else shook their heads. Naruto sighed. Time for a myth lesson. Miku was one of the Japanese goddesses. She was the goddess of healing and medicine. Apollo is my uncle and he was one of the Greek gods. He was the god of medicine, music, poetry, the sun, healing, etc. They trained me and bam. I'm a medic nin that surpasses Tsunade herself. Everyone stared at him. Anko scoffed. Yeah right. Naruto smiled and walked over to Hayate. He did a few hand seals and said, healing arts. Free pathway. Everyone widened their eyes. Instead of green chakra, it was light yellow. Hayate's throat didn't feel hoarse anymore and he could breathe better. Naruto grinned and turned towards Anko. How's that, sucker? You didn't expect that shit did ya, bitch? Everyone winced. Anko growled and lunged towards Naruto. Naruto grabbed her wrist and twisted it, making her fall onto the ground. Sarutobi looked at Hayate. Are you feeling any better? Hayate looked shocked and nodded his head. Sarutobi nodded his head and made a mental note to contact Tsunade and Jiraiya later. He continued. Please let go of Anko, Naruto. Naruto pulled Anko up from the floor and sat down on a chair. That's Kurenai Yuhi, Konoha's Genjutsu mistress. That's Asuma Sarutobi, my oldest son and a wind user in Konoha. And finally, that's Genma Shiranui. Naruto smiled at Asuma. You're a wind user. Asuma nodded his head. Naruto grinned. I'm one as well like my father. Actually, I have all of the chakra elements. Everyone gawked at him. Sarutobi looked shocked. You know your father. Naruto grinned. Yup. Konoha's yellow flash. Also the Yondaime of the village and my father, Minato Namikaze. Quote. Kakashi stared at him. What about your mother? Kushina Uzumaki. Naruto tilted his head to the side. Kurenai and Anko thought it was cute. Kushina Uzumaki is not my mother. She doesn't really exist. Kushina was disguised. She was really Artemis, goddess of the moon and one of the Greek gods. She was sent here by her father Zeus to spy on the shinobi world. To see if they are worthy to even live. Kakashi widened his eye along with everyone else. Naruto turned towards Sarutobi. Okay, why the fuck am I here? He asked. Sarutobi smiled even though Naruto cursed. I want to test your abilities so you will fight these Junins one by one. Thank you. Sorry it wasn't that good, but the next chapter will be action-packed and awesome. Please review. I hope you can read my other stories as well. Ya ne tilde. A test and a new rival. And here's an update. Thanks for the reviews. Pairing votes. Naruto characters. Kin 1 vote. Anko 1 vote. PM Japanese Greek goddess Kami 1 vote. Nike 1 vote. Nemesis 1 vote. Please vote. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Are you fucking kidding me? Sarutobi shook his head. Will you accept? Naruto had a sadistic grin on his face, making everyone except Anko shiver. I'll accept. I will kick all of your asses. When is it, Gigi? Sarutobi smiled. Tomorrow morning. I'll tell the academy to excuse you. Come at training field 7, 9 a.m. sharp. Naruto grinned. Got it, Gigi. He then used a snake shushin, show off, to get out. Anko whistled and grinned. I'm totally gonna ask him to teach me that. The Junins shivered. The next morning, Naruto changed into different clothings. He wore a trench cloak that was exactly like his father with a green shirt underneath, black baggy pants, a silver belt around his waist with the 3 scrolls, black sandals, silver fingerless gloves, and a bow and arrow strapped on his back that was pure gold. He smiled in the mirror and grabbed an apple from the fruit basket and ran out the door. Along the way, he bumped into Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba, Shino, and Sasuke, surprisingly. They introduced each other and Shikamaru thought he was seeing the ghost of the Yondaime. Where are you going, Naruto? Kiba asked. Akamaru barked as Naruto patted his head. Naruto grinned sadistically. Not telling ya, he said. Oh, come on, Naruto. Kiba whined. Naruto grinned wider. I'm going to kick the Junin's asses and make them shit in their pants. Maybe I'll torture them with the Genjutsu Nemesis and Hekate taught me, Naruto chuckled evilly. Kiba and everyone else were dumbstruck. But, you're just an academy student. Kiba exclaimed. Shino and Sasuke silently agreed. Naruto grinned. You got to see it to believe it. Kiba thought about it and looked at Akamaru. What do you think, Akamaru? Should we go? Akamaru barked in agreement. Kiba looked at Naruto. Can I come? Naruto shrugged. I don't care. Kiba grinned. Shikamaru and everyone else started to ask if they could go. Sasuke was just silent. Naruto's sweat dropped. If you could keep up with me. He then disappeared in a yellow flash. Kiba and the others groaned and started to go to Training Field 7. Training Field 7. Naruto appeared in the field and looked at his watch. 8:45. Damn. Why am I the one that's always early? This is fucking ridiculous. Naruto sat under a tree and stared at the clouds. A few minutes later the gang appeared, panting. Naruto smirked. Shikamaru and Choji joined him watching the clouds. Naruto then stood up and looked at his watch. 9 o'clock. Then there were 7 puffs of smoke. Kakashi, Anko, Kurenai, Asuma, Hayate, Genma, and Sarutobi stood there. Then there were 2 smokes revealing the 2 legendary Sanins. Jiraiya and Tsunade. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this. Tsunade Senju, daughter of the Shodaime and great-granddaughter of the Nadaime, true. One of the legendary Sanins and former teammates were Jiraiya and Orochimaru. One of the greatest medic in the whole shinobi land and is really 54 years old. She's using a strong genjutsu to make her younger and she despises Konaha because her lover, Dan, died here along with her younger brother, Nawaki. She never wanted to return here again, but here she is now in all her glory with Jiraiya. People call her the legendary sucker since she sucks in gambling and loses all the time. Anything I left out? Everyone gaped at him. Tsunade glared at him with narrowed eyes. Yeah, you left out how you managed to heal Hayate's throat disease. Naruto smirked. I'll tell you later, old hag. For now I have to fight these people. Everyone stepped back from the angry Sannin and watched at what Naruto was about to do. Tsunade smashed her fist on the ground, making the ground split open. Naruto whistled. I still think Hercules is better. He took on the Nemean lion with no sweat. Nah, who am I kidding? You're equal. Naruto flipped in the air and raised his fist. Let's see if this will refresh you, bitch. He did the same act thing Tsunade did by punching the ground and making it split open. Tsunade widened her eyes and jumped back to avoid getting hit. Naruto smirked and took out a tri-pronged kunai with a seal on it. Jiraiya widened his eyes. He knows the Hiraishin. Kakashi and everyone else widened their eyes in realization. Naruto threw it at Tsunade, who dodged it, and he vanished. No smoke or blur. Just vanish. Tsunade turned around and Naruto kicked her in the stomach, making her slam into a tree. Naruto smirked. He cleared his throat and said in Tsunade's voice, "Who's the one in charge now, old hag?" Everyone widened his eyes. Sarutobi explained to them about his bloodlines, making a certain Uchiha tremble in anger. Tsunade coughed and slowly stood up. She grinned. "Finally, someone that matches my skill." Naruto smirked. "I only released 10% of my power on you. Besides, I need to fight these suckers." He pointed at the Junins, who widened their eyes. Tsunade widened her eyes but smiled. She walked back to Jiraiya and healed her wounds. Naruto looked at the Junins. "Who's going first?" Anko stood up with a grin. "Me." Kurenai was worried about her friend but didn't say anything. Naruto shrugged and walked on to the field. Anko vs. Naruto. Sarutobi looked at the opponents and shouted, "Anko Mitarashi vs Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki." Hajime. Anko immediately sped towards Naruto with a kunai in her hand. Naruto smirked and said, "It's been a long time since I used this taijutsu. I hope you won't be too surprised." He went into a stance that shocked everyone. "The Jade Juken." Asuma stuttered. Anko widened her eyes and quickly threw the kunais at him. Naruto tossed them aside and walked around, still in his stance. "This is a special stance, no." Anko growled and tried to punk him, but he ducked and slightly tapped her chakra points and blocked them. Anko couldn't feel her arms anymore but threw dozens of kunais at him with deadly speed. Naruto twisted and spinned around, dodging them like a real Hyuga. Kiba, Shikamaru, and Choji looked in awe. "Remind me not to piss him off," Kiba whispered. Choji nodded his head while munching on a bag of chips. Naruto flipped backwards and said, "My, you're getting slow. Are you getting tired already?" Anko growled and shouted, "Shut up, bastard." Naruto ran to her with amazing speed and kicked her in the ribs. But Anko dodged it and slashed him with a kunai. Naruto grunted but smiled sadistically. "Okay, next lesson will be ninjutsu." He started to do hand seals that was too familiar. Sasuke and Kakashi widened their eyes. "Kaden. Gukakyo no Jutsu." Naruto blew a huge fireball at Anko. Anko couldn't react, so she waited for the blow. Nothing. Naruto's fireball was floating in midair and started to disappear. Everyone widened his or her eyes. Naruto walked towards Anko and held out his hand. He smiled. "Your accuracy is good. Just try to be cautious around your enemies. Looks are always deceiving." Anko blushed slightly and took his hand while looking away. She stood up and grinned. "I like you, Gaki. Hope we can meet again sometime." Naruto smirked and started to do a few hand seals. Healing arts. Recover. Anko started to glow a faint yellow color. "What the hell?" she shouted. Naruto smirked. Then she widened her eyes. Her cuts and scratches started to heal and disappear. Her arms can move more properly again and didn't feel stiff anymore. Tsunade gawked at him and grinned. "He has got to teach me that." Jiraiya's sweat dropped. Anko stopped glowing and she looked perfect. No scratches or cuts. He thanked him and walked back to the sidelines. Naruto smiled. Next, Kurenai bravely walked up to him and said, "Me." Naruto grinned. "Genjutsu against genjutsu. Sure." Kurenai vs. Naruto. Huron. I and Naruto stood on different sides of the fields. Sarutobi shouted, "Kurenai Yuhi vs Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki." Hajime. Kurenai started to do hand seals and said, "Bringer of Darkness Jutsu." Asuma and Kakashi paled. "Let's hope he survive." Naruto looked around and saw that there was total darkness everywhere. Hell is better than this. He started to hand seals and said, "Magico Apoluteros." I will put on the Greek language in this story. This means, magical release. The genjutsu faded and Naruto took out his bow and arrow. Come out, wherever you are. I won't bite, yet." Everyone was shocked that he escaped from the genjutsu and confused of the language he spoke. Kurenai jumped out of the trees and threw shurikens and kunais at him. He dodged and ipped from the kunais and landed in a crouch. He started to stretch his bow and put a silver arrow on the string. Pharaon Fangari, flying moon, he released the arrow and it glowed like the moon. It was fast and it hit Kurenai in the arm. Asuma and Genma whistled. "I'm going last," they said at the same time. Then they glared at each other. Naruto took out another arrow, but it was purple and started to glow when he attached it to the string. Bellows Deleterio. Poison. Arrow, he shot it at Kurenai, who took out a kunai and threw it at the arrow. The arrow went through it and it shot her in the other arm. Kurenai winced and saw poison on the arrow. She widened her eyes. Naruto quickly ran towards her and kicked her in the stomach. He started to hand seals and said, "Demonic art. Arising hell." Quote. Kurenai screamed and clutched her head. Naruto smirked. "I win." He released the genjutsu a few seconds later and healed Kurenai. He looked at the crowd and grinned. "Who's next to suffer?" Mount Olympus. Ares was laughing like crazy and slammed his fist on the ground. Athena sighed at Naruto's actions and Artemis was just upset. Zeus and the other gods were stifling their laughter as they watched what Naruto had done. Hecate and Nemesis just smiled proudly at him while Apollo went to have some private time in the bathroom. Athena shook her head. "I think Ares is rubbing off on him," she muttered. Artemis nodded her head in agreement. Back to Naruto. Hayate stepped forward. "I'll go." Naruto grinned. He strapped his bow back on his back and took out one of his scrolls from his belt, which was red. Sarutobi stepped up. "Wait, Naruto, what was the language you were speaking?" Naruto smirked. "Greek." Hayate versus Naruto. Hayate took out his katana and went into a stance. Naruto opened the red scroll that had the kanji, music, on it. He smeared his blood, and a beautiful flute appeared. It was blue with a white dragon swirling around it and had small ice crystals that made the kanji, icy blow. Gecko Hayate versus Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki. "Hajime!" Sarutobi exclaimed. Hayate ran forward with deadly speed and slashed at Naruto, who dodged it by doing a back flip. "Not bad, sicko. But remember that looks are deceiving." Naruto started to play the flute and the dragon started to glow brighter. "Thrausmata Pagu," he said. Ice shards. The dragon started to gl. Al brighter and ice shards started to fly at Hayate from the flute while Naruto was playing a sharp and quick song. Hayate blocked it with his katana and charged at Naruto. Never seen Hayate fight S.O. making up jutsus for him. Piercing slash. He exclaimed. Naruto dodged the quick slash and started to play the flute. Hagamenos Animos, he whispered. Icy wind. The air started to freeze and blew violently at Hayate, who said. Spinning blade. He started to spin his katana in a circle and tried to defect the strong, cold wind. Naruto smirked. Not bad, sicko. Let's see if you can outwit wind attacks. He whispered to his flute, Alage. Changed. The flute started to glow and transform into a white flute with a gray dragon swirling around it. It also had white diamonds that made the kanji, raging winds. Naruto started to blow in the flute and the winds started to blow violently at Hayate. Hayate grunted and jumped on a nearby tree to hide from the winds. The winds died down and Hayate jumped back on the field. Naruto smirked. Not bad, sicko. You're about my level in music, but what about swords? The flute was sealed back in his scroll and he took out a white one that had the kanji, blades, on it. He swiftly opened and whispered, Lepida Anthase. Blossom blade. There was a swirl of Sakura petals and a beautiful blade appeared. It had a white blade with light pink Sakura petals on the red handle and the kanji, blossom blade, in red. It was 4 feet long with silver lines on the blade like a Sakura petal. Naruto smirked and went into a stance. Shall we dance? Hayate charged at him and shouted, Morning of the Sun. He started to slash and parry at Naruto with his blade and moved very violently like the sun's heat. Naruto smirked and blocked every slash and parry. Then he vanished in a swirl of Sakura petals and left a confused Hayate behind. Kurenai widened her eyes. Genjutsu. Then there was a yellow flash behind Hayate. Naruto slashed Hayate in the arm with his sword and kicked him in the back. Hayate slammed into a tree and coughed up blood. Naruto smirked and the blade was back in the scroll. He started to hand seals and said, Fuden, K's no Senbon. Needles of the wind. He started to gather air in his hand and mixed it with chakra. He then released sharp and deadly needles of wind at Hayate. It cut his clothes and made cuts on his arms and cheeks. Hayate passed out due to exhaustion. I know that my battle scenes suck, but I will get better. It's kind of hard. You can think it in your head but you can't describe it. Naruto smirked. 3 down 3 to go. After Tsunade healed Hayate's wounds, Naruto started to pace around. Damn, I want to show my techniques to these people but these people are fucking pathetic. He sighed and looked at the remaining Junins. You people are not what I thought you would be. My father puts up a good fight, hell even my mother. But, you people are, how should I say it? Pathetic. Not even worthy to become a shinobi. You all lack the potential and the will to become greater. Let me show you an example of what a true shinobi is. For example, Naruto pointed at Jiraiya. Jiraiya of the Sannin is a pervert of course and makes those shitty books. Jiraiya protested, but stopped when Naruto glared at him. Although he is a pervert, he has potential and the strength to become a true shinobi. Hell, he can even become Hokage. The Junins looked pissed off that Naruto doubted their skills but found out that it was true. They really didn't focus on their career seriously and their skills are going down a bit. Naruto spoke again. Here's an example of a horrible shinobi. He pointed at Sasuke while looking at the adults. Uchiha Tem here is to hell bent on his fucking revenge and needs to get a fucking life. He's too fucking overconfident on his skills and it can cost his comrades their pathetic shitty lives. Yeah, I know about the fucking masquerade and all that shit. Itachi even had a reason for all of that crap. Another example of a horrible shinobi is you. Naruto then pointed at Kakashi who was startled at his comment. Kakashi has too many tragedies in his life and I can see that. Rin gone, Obito dead, his beloved sensei dead, his father taking his own life. You drown yourself in missions trying to forget about the past and in great depression because of that. I think that you should move on with your pathetic life and try to focus what's happening. Now, because of your Great Depression, Naruto air quoted while saying that you don't really focus on your career as a shinobi. You're too carefree and lazy to even bother. I say that you try to get a fucking life and, how should I say this? Do something worth it in your life. Everyone was shocked at his comment. Naruto rolled his eyes. Okay, this is the last fight. I'll take on 3 of the remaining people head on. Kakashi, Asuma, and Genma widened their eyes along with everyone else. Naruto sighed. Believe me, I took a lot worse. I had to fight all 24 of the gods head on. So don't think I can't take on 3 Junins at once. Besides, I can take them out in record time. Asuma, Genma, Kakashi. And Naruto's battle. Kakashi took out a kunai and went into a defensive stance. Asuma took out his trench knives while pouring chakra into them. Genma went into a taijutsu stance and waited for Naruto to attack. I'm sorry but I don't know his fighting style so I'll just make him have a water and fire affinity and make up his style. Naruto smirked and started to do hand seals. Kakashi widened his eyes. Hiro no Jutsu. Ice prison technique. Ice shot from the ground and the 3 male Junins jumped from the mass of ice. On the sidelines, Hiba widened his eyes along with Choji who dropped his bag of chips. He can use ice techniques. Hiba shouted pointing at Naruto who was dodging the blows from Genma's punches and kicks. Choji gulped. Shino was slightly surprised that Naruto could manipulate ice from nowhere. Sasuke, well, let's just say he was angry and leave it at that. Shikamaru was impressed at Naruto's skills. He's not an ordinary academy student. Something's amiss. TCH, troublesome blonde. Let's leave it to Shikamaru to be the detective and figure it out, nay. Back to the fight. Naruto smirked as he ducked from Kakashi's kunais and Asuma's trench knives attack. He then swept Asuma's legs with his right leg and kicked his back with his left foot. He jumped into the air and flipped with his left leg outstretched. Naruto quickly slammed him to the ground making a crater with Asuma in it. Asuma grunted and smirked at Naruto. You're tough kid, but what about this move? He started to force more chakra into his trench knives and went into a stance. Hein. Flying swallow, he charged at Naruto and slashed him in the arm. Naruto smirked and dodged it but didn't expect it to cut his cheek causing a small amount of blood to drip out. Asuma smirked and jumped back shouting, Genma. Naruto widened his eyes as Genma appeared behind him and kicked him in the back, making him slam into a tree. Naruto smirked and wiped the blood from his mouth. You're getting serious now, huh? Konaha's. Asuma, Genma, and Kakashi smirked. Well, not like anyone can see that he smirked since he had a mask covering half of his face. Naruto stood up and activated his psychic mind, Bloodline, which caused his eyes to turn a darker shade of purple and the gray mist to turn dark black, which was spinning around like crazy. No one noticed the change except for Shikamaru, Kakashi, Sarutobi, Jiraiya, and Tsunade. Naruto smirked and can read the minds of others. He mainly focused on his 3 opponents and ignored the others. While Asuma and Genma distract him in a full-fledged taijutsu battle, I'll use a fire jutsu for a sneak attack, Kakashi thought. Naruto smirked and ran towards Asuma and Genma with Senbon needles in his hands between each knuckle. He threw it at them and shouted, Ninpu, Senbon Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Ninja Art. Senbon Clone Jutsu. The Senbon needles started to multiply and sped towards the 2 men. Asuma started to dodge and deflect them with his trench knives and Genma dodged them with grace. Naruto smirked. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Kaden. Hosenka no Jutsu. Kakashi shouted as he shot multiple fireballs at Naruto. What he didn't expect was that Naruto was creating a few hand seals of his own. Naruto turned around and shouted, Sweden, Sujinheki. Water barrier wall, Naruto. Shot water from his mouth and created a strong barrier, defending him from the fire attack. He smirked in victory. Alright, Konaha's. Prepare for my special technique. He jumped into the air and started to hand seals. Asuma, Genma, and Kakashi rushed towards him to attack but were too late. Naruto smirked and said, Shoten, Shuriken Ranbu. Quote, Crystal release. Shuriken wild dance. Everyone widened his or her eyes. Naruto surrounded himself with crystal particles and started to condense them into numerous shuriken. He launched them at the 3 Junins who were trying desperately to dodge them. It was easier for Genma and Kakashi since they had more graceful reflexes, but Asuma didn't have that type of reflexes, so he got cut up real bad on his arms, legs, and his face. The attacks wreck. Edit and Naruto landed gracefully on the floor. He smirked. Training with the Shodaime, Nadaime, and my father, the Yondaime, really pays off, nay. Everyone's jaws dropped. Sarutobi's eyes widened. UT trained with T the Shodaime, N Nadaime, and your father, the Y Yondaime. He stuttered. Naruto shrugged. Nadaime-san wants to say that he's proud of you and all of that shit, Shodaime-san won. TS you to protect the village and be happy, and my 2-san wants you to protect me from the damn fucking council and that he thinks that Madara is still alive. So what? I visit them in the fields of Elysium all the time. Anyways. Naruto then took out a kunai and flicked it at Asuma who was on the ground. Kakashi reacted quickly and deflected it with his own kunai. Damn, what is this kid? Is he the next living god or something? Putting this much pressure into a freaking kunai. Naruto grinned sadistically and started to do hand seals. Ninpu. Kurigakur no Jutsu. Heavy mist started to surround the field. It got denser since Naruto willed it to. Kakashi helped Asuma up and Genma started to look for any shadow or movement. Kakashi sighed. Damn, I need to use the Sharingan now. He LLED down his mask and lifted up his Hite. His Sharingan started to blaze and the tomos started to spin furiously. Naruto smiled sadistically. This will be fun. Naruto his chakra signature in D started to move around like he knew where he was going. He took out 3 3-pronged kunais and threw it around the Junin silently in a wide triangle formation. Kakashi didn't notice the kunais but noticed some kind of movement. Asuma, Genma, and Kakashi stuck their backs together for any signal of movement so they can back up each other. They cautiously looked around in the thick mist. Naruto used the Hiraishin no Jutsu to transport himself where the kunais were and took out 3 conductors from Kami knows where. He vanished and stuck the 3 conductors on the ground silently. Lee K. Ares taught him to where the kunais were. Kakashi noticed Naruto in front of them but it was too late. Raiden. Kaminari Shibari. Lightning release. Thunder binding. A 3-sided electric W. All came from the conductors and trapped the Junins inside. Naruto released the mist and smirked triumphantly. I win, Konaha's. The people on the sidelines widened their eyes that he beated the 3 Junins single-handedly. Naruto smirked and started to walk away, but Asuma and Genma's voice interrupted him. Oi, release us. Naruto sighed. He started to form a chakra ball in his right hand, shocking everyone. But the difference was that it was surrounded by wind. He charged at the electric walls and shouted, Futon, Rasengan. Wind release. Spiraling sphere, he smashed it on the walls, breaking it. Jiraiya, Sarutobi, Kakashi, and Tsunade's jaws dropped. You can manipulate your affinity with the Rasengan. Jiraiya exclaimed. Naruto went into a thinking pose, which made the women think was cute. It made my dad jealous when I mastered the Rasengan in one try and already use my affinity manipulation with it. I can also use water, wind, earth, lava, crystal, ice, fire, lightning, wood. And combining it together with other affinities. Everyone's jaws dropped except for Sasuke, Shikamaru, and Shino. Sasuke rolled his eyes. What's so important about that technique anyway? It looks useless to me. Naruto and Jiraiya scowled at him. The Rasengan is an A-rank technique that was invented by my father, the Yondaime, Minato Namikaze. It's a very useful and dangerous move to master. Sadly, my father died before completing it. Rasengan requires no hand seals, relying only on the chakra control of the user. The compacted nature and moving speed of the chakra allows the Rasengan to grind into whatever it comes in contact with, inflicting major damage. This also tends to launch the target backward once hit. The Rasengan was designed to use the caster's elemental affinities. But my father was unable to cast his elemental affinities before he died. I know that Kakashi was trying to put his lightning affinity into the Rasengan, but he was unable to, so he uses Chidori and Lightning Cutter instead, which require a certain point of shape manipulation and nature manipulation itself. So don't go around and say that the Rasengan is useless. I'll prove it to you. Jiraiya was impressed at Naruto's knowledge of the Rasengan and wanted to ask him something, but Kakashi butt in. How did you know about my attempt? He asked. Naruto smiled. Kekai Genkai. Kakashi made an shape under his mask and nodded. Naruto walked in the clearing and cracked his neck, making a loud pop. Naruto raised his right hand for everyone to see the Rasengan, but was crackling with lightning. Again. Show off. Kakashi widened his eyes. Naruto charged at a tree and exclaimed, Raiden, Rasengan. Lightning release. Spiraling sphere, he slammed it in a tree and made the tree go boom. Poor tree. Naruto smirked, and the now destroyed tree was sparking little bits of lightning. He turned towards Sasuke. Good enough. Of course, Sasuke wouldn't admit it, but he thought the move was very strong and useful to kill Itachi, so he said, teach me it. Of course, Naruto heard his thoughts and shook his head. Never in my fucking Konaha. Sasuke was angry and started to charge at him, but was pulled back by Shino. It is not wise to fight someone who's out of your league, Uchiha-san, Shino said in a monotone voice. Sasuke scoffed and walked away. Naruto started to charge, another Rasengan, making everyone look at him in awe. He charged at another tree and shouted, Futon, Rasenshuriken. The Rasengan now looked like it had 4 points and looked like a Fuma Shuriken. He smashed it in the tree and smirked. Now I'm refreshed. 2. Everyone looked at the damage Naruto had done and sighed. Anko just had a maniacal grin on her face. Naruto looked at the crowd. Can I go now? It's getting late. Also, I was just playing around with the "you are pathetic" thing. Although, I do mean some of it with the good shinobi and the bad shinobi. Sarutobi nodded and Naruto used water shushin to go home. Everyone went back home either in shock or in awe at Naruto's ability. Tsunade healed Kakashi, Asuma, and Genma. They went back home with thoughts to ponder on. Tsunade and Jiraiya looked at Sarutobi. You have a lot to explain, old man, they said in unison. Sarutobi's sweat dropped. Why did you leave me, Naruto? Thanks for reading. Please review and vote. Konaha means, you bastard. Konaharos means, you bastard. Naruto's personality is lazy, carefree, and laid back when he wants to be. He's like a second Shikamaru, but a bit more serious when around his surroundings or in a fight. Whenever he feels stressed, he attacks something, like a tree for example, to release his stress, frustration, or anger with a Rasengan technique he knows. Don't worry, Sasuke will not learn the Rasengan nor can he copy Naruto's moves. I'll make sure of it. Insert evil laugh here that scares the shit out of Shinigami. Note: Naruto has all, and I mean all, of T. He affinities thanks to Kyuubi and the gods. He has to take down the titans anyway, so he's godlike in this story. Also, the jutsus will either be Romaji or English, since some of the jutsus will be made up and I don't know how to translate it into Japanese. If someone knows how, please tell me. Feel free to ask me a question and I'll answer them. Also, I am not Greek. I just put on the Greek lang. UAGE because it will be very important in the future and I used the Google Translator thingy to do that. Ya ne tilde. The Jonin exams. Another update. Woo woo. Okay. Instead of voting for the pairings B. Why reviewing? What about just voting on my poll? Yeah, that's right. There are 2 polls on my profile for the couples. Enjoy. Also, yes, Naruto will have a team even though he's very strong and all that bunch of shit. Okay, I'm just going to skip to the Jonin exams, K. Also, I will make some of the weak characters strong, like Ino. I want to make Ino like in the Ninja Clash games or something like T. Hat, since I got inspired by the videos on YouTube and Ino is awesome in the game. Anyways, enjoy. Also, Kyuubi is a girl and the jutsus from the gods and that were created by Naruto will be in English. Since I don't know the Japanese translation for it. A month later, Naruto woke up in the morning very early and looked at the calendar. It was the day of the Jonin exams. TCH. It's going to be so fucking easy. Naruto then went to the bathroom and started to dye his hair blonde for the fun of it. He also has a prank streak in his personality. He started to put blue contact lens in his eyes and nodded in approval in front of the mirror. He then walked to the closet and wore the same exact thing as his father did when he was the Hokage. Naruto smirked. Oh, how he loved to do pranks and scare the people shitless. He then changed his voice like his dad. Naruto grabbed an apple and rushed out the door while locking the gates and activating the security seals. Academy. Naruto was the first in the classroom. Obviously, since he wanted to see the reaction of the classmates and the teachers. Naruto sat in the back of the room with his feet on the desk and his hands behind his head. Sooner or later, Iruka and Mizuki walked into the room. They stopped and looked at Naruto in shock and in fear. Why Yondaime-sama? Iruka stuttered. Naruto smirked and said in Minato's voice, why do you ask? Mizuki and Iruka started to stutter and their faces turned red. Naruto took out a camera and snapped a picture before putting it away in his cloak. I'll send this to the newspaper committee, he thought evilly. Iruka and Mizuki started to arrange the papers for the exams while stealing glances at Naruto. Naruto sighed. I'm not really the Yondaime. I just look like him and I switched my voice like him. It's part of my bloodline to copy everyone else's voice and all of their features. Don't tell anyone though. I wanna see their fucking faces, Minato said. The 2 teachers nodded dumbfounded at the information, but Iruka asked, Namikaze-san, what happened to your hair and your eyes? Naruto tilted his head to the right and said, contact lens for the eyes and I dyed my hair. Also, cut the Namikaze-san crap. It's annoying and I'm not that old. Just call me Naruto. If you say Namikaze-san one more time, I will beat the shit out of you or I can just feed you to the wolves. Iruka gulped and Mizuki glared. Sooner or later, the students poured in after Naruto put on a powerful hinge on himself so no one can detect it. The students stopped and stared at Minato. Naruto opened his eyes and grinned. Yo, Mina. Sakura widened her eyes and fainted. Hiba started stuttering. Why you're alive? He said while pointing at Naruto. Naruto grinned. Yep. Also, I love seeing your faces while I'm here. Poof. Naruto appeared and he smirked. Hiba fainted while Akamaru tried to wake up his master. Naruto started laughing like crazy, still in Minato's voice. The laugh was warm and cheerful like, well, Minato. Everyone stared at him while Iruka was trying hard not to laugh but failed. Naruto stopped laughing and switched his voice into the Nadimes. What? Cat got your tongue? He started to laugh like the Nadime and then changed his voice into Shinigami. His voice is kind of demonic so it's in bold along with Kyuubi. Closing parenthesis. Those who defy the laws of NT times will suffer the consequences if they lie, cheat, manipulate, or kill others for power or revenge. They will suffer into the deepest pits of hell and burn alive for eternity. I will hear all your painful and beautiful screams while I rule my throne with my brother, Hades, Lord of the Underworld, Naruto said. Everyone was shocked, scared, or just surprised shitless while pissing their pants. Shinigami's voice sounded powerful, demonic, and sadistic. Naruto then switched his voice into Hades. He smirked. Hades was worse than Shinigami. Actually, they were equal. His voice sounded raspy, demonic, and creepy. If thou does not suffer in hell, thou will suffer in the pits of Tartarus and be ripped from flesh to flesh with the Reaper. Thou will scream as they face monsters, demons, devils, and creatures made from thyself and thy brother, Shinigami. Your screams will be heard but no one will come to assist, as you will be like that for eternity while your flesh is ripped again and again and again. Like a wheel that never stops turning or like the earth that never stops spinning. I and my brother will enjoy the screams of pain and, Naruto. I think that's enough, Iruka said. Sweat dropping as the students fainted. Only Akamaru, Sasuke, Shino, and Shikamaru were standing who were slightly trembling. Naruto was confused. Did thou go too far? Iruka's sweat dropped and nodded his head. Naruto sighed. Thou was getting to the good part though, he said with anime tears. Iruka's sweat dropped while Mizuki silently glared at him, which didn't go unnoticed by Naruto, Shino, or Shikamaru. Naruto switched his voice into Sasuke and said, whomever wakes up first will go on a date with me tonight. Instantly, all of Sasuke fangirls woke up and their eyes gleamed with lust and love. Naruto smirked and turned to Sasuke while changing his voice back. I hope you will handle all of your shitty fangirls. Sasuke glared at him with pure hatred and rage. Naruto shrugged. At least half of the class has waked up. Genin exams. Everyone was sitting in their seat with a pencil in front of them. The written exam. Naruto's eyes twitched as Iruka and Mizuki handed out the exam papers. Okay. You have an hour to finish all of this and then we will go up to the weapon part of the exams and a sparring match to determine the rookie of the year. You may start. Now. Iruka said. Immediately, everyone started to put his or her pencil on paper, except for Naruto. He was twitching his eyebrow while glaring at the test. He suddenly had a light bulb above his head and started to gather the knowledge of the former Hokages. He, accidentally, forgot to tell one of his bloodlines to Sarutobi. It was called Gatherer, and Gatherer is a bloodline, which the user can gain all of the knowledge of the person just by a single touch and can even take all of their techniques along with the info. Naruto took all of the knowledge from his father, Shodaime, and the Nadaime. Naruto smirked. Eden started to quickly write on the paper. He was done in 10 minutes and smirked in accomplishment. Sakura, Shino, Shikamaru, and Sasuke were done a few minutes later. Naruto sighed and looked to his right at the sleeping Nara and to his left at the silent Aburame. Naruto looked at the clock and glared. Why can't it go faster? The damn clock. 50 agonizing minutes passed and the test was done. Naruto's eye twitched as he started thinking of a string of curses that would make Ares and Yuya proud. Finally, everyone went outside for the weapons test. Outside of the academy, everyone except Sasuke and Naruto went. They were waiting patiently for their turns while other people were throwing weapons at the dummy. The rules were simple really. If you get the heart it's worth 50 points, the neck was worth 40 points. The eyes were worth 35 points, the lungs were worth 35 points like the eyes, the arms were worth 30 points, and the legs were worth 25 points. Mostly everyone got the arms or the legs. Uchiha Sasuke, Iruka said reading off a clipboard. Sasuke had an aura of confidence around him as he walked up to the field. Mizuki gave him 5 kunais to attack with. Sasuke smirked. Now let's see who's the stronger one. Dobi. Sasuke and Naruto were declared rivals well. More like Sasuke declared Naruto his rival after the fight with the Junins. Naruto didn't really care out the rival relationship and just ignored Sasuke's request to fight. Sasuke was pissed off and you get the point. Sasuke threw a kunai at the dummy, which struck the neck. His fangirls squealed except for Ino. She had gotten over her love for Sasuke about a few weeks ago. She tried to tell Sakura this, but Sakura thought it was just a joke so she can have Sasuke to herself. Ino was disappointed and sad, but then Naruto came in and offered her to be in his circle of friends, which includes Shikamaru, Shino, Choji, Hinata, and Kiba along with Akamaru. Ino accepted and she had a crush on him ever since. She also trained hard to be a kunoichi with Naruto and her father's help. Sasuke threw the remaining kunais, which struck the neck, lungs, arms, and eyes. Iruka smiled at him and said, "Congratulations, Sasuke-san. You're in first place with 180 points. Sasuke smirked with a smug look on his face and walked back into the group while fangirls started to crowd around him saying bunches of F shit that I don't even want to talk about. Naruto chuckled at the scene along with Ino. Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, Iruka said. Everyone was silent as they watched him lazily walk onto the field. Mizuki handed him 5 kunais with seals on them so Naruto would lose. Naruto sighed and started to remove the seals where nobody could see. He took a kunai and took a position. Mizuki smirked. I hope you fail, demon. Naruto yawned and threw the kunai lazily at the dummy but with inhuman speed and accuracy. Mizuki started to do a hand seal behind his back but noticed that it didn't work. What the hell is going on? The kunai hit straight on the heart, surprising everyone except his friends. Naruto took another kunai and repeated the same process over again. He finally got to his last kunai and flicked it with a flick of his wrist. The kunai hit really hard on the heart and broke the dummy. Everyone stood gaping at him. Sasuke and Mizuki were furious but kept cool on the outside. Naruto yawned and went back to his friends with a smile. Iruka started to write in his clipboard and said smiling, "Congratulations, Naruto-san. You have the total of 250 points going in first place." Sasuke glared at Naruto while Mizuki was thinking of another way to make Naruto fail. Sparring matches. Yamanaka Ino vs. Haruno Sakura. Please come forward, Mizuki said. Ino and Sakura walked forward onto the field and looked at each other. Sakura smirked. Too bad, Ino pig, but I'm going to win this match and Sasuke-kun will love me while you're on the floor begging for forgiveness. Naruto and his friends shook their heads with a sigh. Bad move, a really bad move. They all knew that Ino's father, trained her in their family jutsus, while Naruto helped her with her taijutsu, and taught her some medical jutsus for the future. They also knew that Ino was a really good fighter because of her flexibility, speed, and grace. Ino looked sad. Please, Sakura. Sasuke just only cares about himself. Can't you see that he's not a good person and that he only focused for power? Sakura snorted. You just want him for yourself, don't you, Ino pig? Ino's eyebrow twitched and a tick mark formed. Fine, be that way. I thought you were my friend, but I guess you're wrong. Naruto is way better than that bastard anyway. Sakura glared at her. How dare you? She screamed. Ino covered her ears from the scream and sighed. Man, I forgot how loud you were. Sakura growled. I'm going to kill you. Mizuki was interested of how the fight would become and said, before we begin, you may only use taijutsu only. No ninjutsu or genjutsu. Hajime. Naruto and Ino made eye contact. Naruto nodded at her with a smile. Ino blushed, smiled back, and went into a stance that was unknown to everyone. Sakura snorted. What kind of stance is that? Ino pig. Ino rolled her eyes. Naruto taught me this stance while we were training and said that this stance requires grace, flexibility, and speed. This stance is called the Dance of the Magical Feathers, that he created with his grandmother, Hera. Sakura looked confused. Who's Hera? Ino shook her head with a small smile. You don't need to know. Sakura rolled her eyes. I don't even want to know who this bitch is anyway. Naruto and his friends glared. Naruto taught them the stories of Greek mythology and all of the gods. He taught them some of the moves he learned from them and said that the Sharingan can't copy it or see the movement. Ino glared at her. Don't you dare say that. Hera is one of my favorite people. Enough chit-chat, let's fight. Sakura smirked and took several kunais from her pouch and threw it at her. Ino backflipped, ducked, and did one-hand cartwheels to avoid them. Sakura was shocked. Ino smirked and started to do one-hand cartwheels and flips in a row when she landed on the ground sideways. Like in the game where she did those flips. I'll post it on my profile. Sakura was confused and tried to throw a punch at her. Keyword. Tried. Ino dodged them with flexibility that was equal to Naruto but a little bit lower since she needed to work on her strength while using her flexibility. Nah. Ruto observed all of her moves and nodded in approval. Shikamaru, Choji, Shino, Hinata, and Kiba were impressed along with the other entire students. Ino jumped into the air and landed on Sakura's ace with her right foot and her leg straight up behind her. Sakura grunted from the shoe and the weight. Ino smirked. Time for my favorite move. Feather barrage. Quote. Ino kicked Sakura's face with her left foot, that glowed with a white aura. As hard as she could and flipped in the air when Sakura skidded on the floor. Naruto smirked. You used the move, huh? You improved greatly, Ino. Nice job. O blushed at the comment but smiled at her crush. Hinata noticed this and slightly glared at her. Naruto is mine, not you blonde bitch, she thought. Whoa. Just whoa. Hinata and Ino are secret rivals who wants Naruto for themselves. Naruto knows this but keeps to himself because he thinks it's amusing. Mizuki was shocked but said, winner, Yamanaka Ino. Ino smiled and walked back to Naruto and her friends. They congratulated her, a job well done and everything. Sakura woke up later on when Sasuke and Naruto's fight started. I'm just going to skip to Sasuke's battle, okay. Closing parenthesis. Hinata fought Kiba and won the match. Shikamaru won against Choji but they put on a good match. Shino beated a random student with his improved taijutsu. Now the fun begins. Uchiha Sasuke vs. Uzumaki Namikaze. Naruto. Sasuke smirked and walked confidently onto the field. Naruto sighed. His friends were concerned on the Uchiha's attitude along with Iruka who bonded with Naruto during the month even. Though Naruto kept on threatening him to stop calling him Namikaze-san. Naruto walked lazily onto the field and looked at Sasuke. Let's just finish this. I need to take a nap. Sasuke glared at him and went into an Uchiha taijutsu style. You better quit now, Dobi, because I'm going to kick your ass. Naruto rolled his eyes and went into the stance Ino went into earlier. Hurry up. Mizuki glared at him. It didn't go unnoticed by Iruka and said, no ninjutsu or genjutsu allowed. Hajime. Sakura and the other fangirls cheered on Sasuke and waving banners that came from Kami knows where. Naruto and his friends' sweat dropped. Sasuke charged at Naruto with his fist raised to punch. Naruto jumped into the air and dodged the attack with ease. Sasuke was getting frustrated so he jumped into the air and attempted to kick Naruto. They were both in midair and everyone watched in fascination. Sasuke did a roundhouse kick with his right leg aiming for his head. Naruto bent backwards and kicked Sasuke in the chin with his left foot while flipping down onto the ground. Sasuke landed hard on the ground making a huge crater. He growled and started to throw kunais and shurikens at Naruto. Naruto did the same thing as Ino but with more grace and flexibility. Sasuke was desperate while running out of weapons. He growled and charged at Naruto with pure anger in his face. Naruto shook his head with a fr. Onin dodged the punch with ease as he kicked Sasuke's chest straight up with his right foot. He spinned with his right hand and landed on the ground in a crouch. Sasuke groaned and slowly got up. Naruto sighed. You need to stop letting your anger consume you. My father says, for those who are consumed by anger will be blind in a fight and lose his own life along with his comrades. Sasuke glared at him. I don't care about that bullshit. Hurry up and fight, Dobi. He then charged at Naruto and did a flying sidekick aimed for his chest. Naruto grabbed Sasuke's ankle with his right hand and spun around while holding on. He flung Sasuke to the ground while creating smoke. Naruto smirked slightly. I win, he said as he turned around. Sasuke was angry. No, he was pissed. Sasuke panted slightly as he stood up. He did a few hand seals that were recognizable by Iruka, Mizuki, and Naruto along with Shikamaru, Shino, and Kiba. Curse you, Dobi, Kaden. Gukakyo no Jutsu. He shouted as a huge fireball flew towards Naruto with decent speed. Naruto cursed at the idiot. He closed his eyes as the fireball came closer and engulfed him. Everyone widened his or her eyes as the flame engulfed Naruto. Iruka and Naruto's friends started screaming his name with worried, horror, and concern written all over their faces. The screams died down when Sasuke smirked triumphantly. Hinata and Ino air close to tears when they saw Naruto engulfed by the flame. They stopped when they saw that the fireball vanished and saw Naruto in a Hyuga stance, which was known by Hinata. Naruto smirked and said, Hakusho Kaden. 8 divinations palms of the hands, heavenly spin, Hinata gasped, catching everyone's attention. Kiba was curious and awed at Naruto's ability. What is it, Hinata? Hinata poked her fingers together. The Hakusho Kaden. I'm not making her stutter in here. Just imagine that she's stuttering. As a taijutsu technique unique to the Hyuga bloodline using the Jukin. Kaden is a special technique passed down through the main family line, and it takes advantage of several of the unique abilities of the Byakugan Eye. Byakugan gives the clan member an almost complete 360-degree view of their surroundings. This allows the member to see all angles of attack. If an attack is near, the clan member will release a large amount of chakra from their tenketsu. The member then begins to spin like a top, creating a whirling vortex that can nullify almost any attack. Everyone was shocked. Hinata was shocked. But, how does Naruto-kun know that technique? Only the main Hyuga members of the clan know it. Quote, Naruto smiled at Hinata. Your mother taught me it. Hinata widened her eyes. But, she's dead. Naruto nodded his head. She's dead, but she remains in your heart. I visit her sometimes, learning the Hyuga techniques and making some of my own. She said to tell you that always have confidence in yourself. Hinata nodded her head but was still shocked. Then, Naruto glared at Sasuke. Kanayaro. Kimi wa jitsu ni baka dana. 2. Sasuke glared at him but fell on his butt from chakra exhaustion. Iruka stepped up and smiled in relief that Naruto was safe. Because of Sasuke breaking the rule of using ninjutsu, Naruto Namikaze. Uzumaki wins and declared the Rookie of the Year. Everyone cheered except for the Sasuke fan club. Sakura started screaming. Sasuke-kun was not cheating. Naruto Baka was the one who cheated. Iruka sighed. Do you have proof? Sasuke-san used a ninjutsu so he broke the rule. Sasuke-kun didn't cheated. That was just his hotness and Oz omnis radiating off of him. Thank you, my friend, Queen of Hell 98. Iruka rolled his eyes along with everyone else except for the fan club who screamed in agreement. Hell, even Mizuki. I rolled his eyes that Sakura was this stupid. She isn't a kunoichi. She deserves to be just a civilian. Iruka and Mizuki sighed. Next is the jutsu exam. I don't know what it's called. Please bear with me. Classroom. Uchiha Sasuke, Mizuki said. Sasuke walked in front of the classroom with confidence radiating off of him as his fangirls swooned over him like lovesick puppies. Naruto rolled his eyes. Seriously, that's what will make him get killed. Overconfidence. Maybe I should beat some sense into him. He. Mizuki checked off his clipboard and said, please perform a henge of your choice. Sasuke thought about it for a moment and made a hand seal. Henge. Poof. Sasuke turned into his father, Uchiha Fugaku. Mizuki checked off his clipboard and said, make a kawarimi with anything in this room. Sasuke turned back to himself and replaced himself with a chair nearby. Mizuki nodded and ignored the shouts of Sasuke's fangirls. Make at least 3 bunshin. Sasuke smirked and said, Bunshin no jutsu. He created 5 clones of himself while the girls screamed that he was awesome and all that bunch of shit, Sakura the loudest of all. Mizuki smiled and handed Sasuke a Hite headband. Congratulations, Uchiha-san. You are now a genin of Konaha. Wear it with pride. Sasuke smirked and tied the headband around his forehead. He walked back to his seat with an, I'm better than all of you, look. Naruto rolled his eyes and jumped in excitement when Iruka called his name. Naruto did all of the jutsus after transforming into his father and replacing himself with a desk. Now the bunshin technique. Iruka-sensei. Since I have too much chakra I can't create a bunshin. Iruka smiled sympathetically at Naruto. It's okay. Naruto smirked. But I know this one. He made a cross with his fingers and said, Kage bunshin no jutsu. 20 Naruto clones appeared. Let's skip this. He got his headband. Blah, blah, blah. I'm too lazy for this. Let's just go to the part where Hinata's at home. Okay. Closing parenthesis. Hyuga household. Hinata timidly walked towards her father's room and knocked softly on the door. Come in, Hinata, Hiyashi said from the door. Hinata slowly opened the door and closed it behind her as she sat down. What is it, Hinata? Hiyashi said in usual tone as he turned around to face his daughter. Hinata looked down at the ground and poked her fingers together. Otu-sama, she said quietly. Yes, Hiyashi said impatiently. I graduated today, Hinata said looking up in her father's eyes. Surprising him. Congratulations, Hinata. Now, I need to get back to work. Hinata stopped him. Wait, today I saw Naruto-kun fight and she started telling him about the fight but didn't tell him about the move, yet. Hiyashi nodded his head. He has talent and potential to be a great shinobi. It's a tragic he died. Hinata shook her head with a small smile on her face. He survived, Otu-sama. He used the Hakusho Kaden. Hiyashi was shocked and angry that someone out of his clan learned that move. How did he learn it? He hissed. Hinata was scared of her father's gaze but stood her ground. Ka-san taught him. He. Cliffy, I hope you enjoy this chapter. I gave it my all. Sakura has grown to hate Naruto because she heard that Sasuke hated him, so the loyal fangirl she is. Sakura hated Naruto so Sasuke can give her his attention. Mi wa jitsu ni bakadena is one of my favorite Utaloid's character's phrase, Cheeto. It means, you are really stupid. Goodbye for now. Please review and vote on my poll. Ya nay tilde. Also, do you want the original Team 7 or a different one? No Hinata. Team arrangements and Titans clash. The Angel of Eternal Rest. I am so sorry. Naruto. Where the fuck did you go? Everyone was fucking waiting for you to update. The Angel of Eternal Rest. Shut the hell up or else I will pay Orochimaru $50 to rape you. Naruto. The Angel of Eternal Rest. I knew that would work. Bose, I am truly sorry. Please enjoy this long chapter for apology. Note. I will have to use Greek names to make up more Titans. I hope you don't mind. Naruto woke up and yawned. He started to dress up and brush his teeth. He wore a casual pair of jeans and a black shirt with a skull in the front and the words, "Death," in the back. He took out a watch and latched it on his wrist. Before he walked out the door he went on his knees and prayed, "O Kami-sama. Please don't let Emo Duck Ass and his loyal pink banshee be on my team. I will truly appreciate it if my wish will be granted. Thank you. Amen." He stood up and made the cross sign over his chest. Naruto took an apple and teleported to the academy. Iruka smiled as he saw the eager and nervous face of his students. Then all of a sudden, confetti was thrown everywhere in a certain seat. Naruto appeared and bowed with a huge grin. Thank you. I could never ask from a wonderful audience. Half of the students laughed and clapped while others glared. Especially Duck Ass and his loyal pink banshee. Naruto smirked and sat down. Please continue, Iruka-sensei. Iruka's sweat dropped and nodded. Team 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9 are currently being on service. The Chunin looked at the list and started to read. Team 7 is under the tutelage of Kakashi Hatake. The members are consisted of Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke looked up and had an "I'm better than all of you since I came first" smirk. Naruto had to be restrained by Kiba, Shikamaru, and Choji from beating up the Uchiha. Sakura Haruno, the pink banshee, squealed like the pig she was and started to latch herself on Sasuke's arm that was trying to shove her off. Naruto and his friends started to laugh. Sasuke glared at them. Iruka continued, and Sai. Sai was a weird and quiet kid, but Naruto knew better. He was part of Root, an organization formed by Danzo, the old war hawk. He was sent to spy on Sasuke and report back to him. Naruto shrugged. Whatever. Team 8 is under the tutelage of Kurenai Yuhi. The members are consisted of Hinata Hyuga. Hinata closed her eyes. Her fingers were crossed behind her jacket. Please let me be with Naruto-kun. Kiba Inuzuka. There was a shout of, Yahoo! And an accompanied bark. And Shino Aburame. Shino just nodded and pushed up his glasses. Hinata sighed while Ino smirked. In your face, bitch. Naruto-kun is mine. Team 10 is under the tutelage of Asuma Sarutobi. The teammates are consisted of Shikamaru Nara. Troublesome. Choji Akamichi. Munch, 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 and Ino Yamanaka. Ino widened her eyes. All of her PPY dreams of Naruto and her together on a team vanished. She gritted her teeth and shouted, "Why can't I be on Naruto-kun's team?" Iruka scratched the back of his head with a nervous smile. "I'm sore." "Why Ino, but that's how Hokage-sama ordered it to be." Ino crossed her arms. HMPH. Even she cannot go against the Hokage's decision. Naruto chuckled quietly. "Don't worry, Ino. We can still hang out sometime." Ino blushed and smiled. Hinata fumed and then smirked. "If I can't have Naruto-kun, no one can." The students edged away from her dark aura and wondered, what the hell is wrong with her? Shikamaru sighed. Team 11 is under the tutelage of Anko Mitarashi. The members are consisted of Yuki Hanko. A white-haired girl looked up with a creepy smile and dark black eyes. She wore the headband on her right arm. An outfit that looked exactly like Kurenai's but in blue ninja sandals, and a ninja pouch on her hip. Naruto stared at her with a suspicious eye but remained calm. Ritsu Nanumi. A light blonde-haired girl looked up with a malicious glint in her eyes. She wore a dark black shirt with strange engravings on the sleeve. Her eyes were deeper than coal and harder than ice. Shish. E wore black leggings and black ninja sandals. The headband was around her waist. She just looked away with a glare. And Mizuki Tenko. A girl with long silver hair and silver eyes looked up. She wore a silver shirt with gray pants and blue ninja sandals. She was deathly pale but had a slight glow around it. She had the headband around her waist as well. Mizuki just smiled softly and nodded her head. "That is all, Kit. They are all titans. I can sense the power rolling off of them," said a deep voice in his head. Naruto silently nodded in agreement. Naruto stood up. "What the hell? What about me?" Iruka looked through the paper and found a note at the end. "You're with Team 11. Sorry." Naruto smirked slightly. "The game is set." A black ball crashed through the window and revealed to be Anko. She grinned and said, "I'm Anko Mitarashi, instructor of Team 11, punks. I want you to meet me at Training Ground 16. Training Ground 16. Now, let's get to know each other. Likes, dislikes, hobbies, goal, etc." Anko said as they sat near a river. She was eating a stick of dango with a grin. Naruto smirked. "Why don't you introduce yourself, Anko-sensei?" Anko smirked. "My name is Anko Mitarashi. My likes are dango, torturing, training, and relaxing at the onsen. My dislikes are arrogant bastards, a certain person, perverts, and traitors. My hobbies are training, hanging out with my friends, eating dango, and torturing. My dream is to kill a certain person and bring peace. We will never have peace," Naruto thought. Anko grinned. "Your turn, squirt." She pointed at Mizuki. Mizuki smiled softly with an eerie glow. "My name is Mizuki Tenko. I like to watch the moon at night, cookies, and training. My dislikes are the darkness, Abyss, Akira, and Artemis. My hobbies are watching the moon, watering plants, and embracing my special one at night. My dream is to make everyone respect the moon." Her voice was soft and gentle just like the glow of the moon. Naruto cursed mentally. "She is Selene, goddess of the moon. And did she just insult my mother? That bitch will die." Single quote. Mizuki smiled. Anko blinked stupidly and said, "Okay. You're next, maggot." She pointed at Ritsu who glared. "I'm not a maggot, you damn bitch. My name is Ritsu Nanumi. My likes are the hatred in the hearts of people, torturing, killing, death, darkness, and tragedy. My dislikes are love, kindness, compassion, pity, mercy. And that damn love bitch, Aphrodite. My hobbies are watching death, killing, and manipulating people. My dream is for the world to become overcome by the 7 deadly sins and never showing compassion." Her voice was rough and cruel with no compassion or mercy. Anko thought, "This is the most weirdest and unusual group I have ever had in my whole life." Naruto thought, "Shit, it's an idea. Spirit of ruthlessness, shamelessness, and unforgiveness. He. Very nice. You next, brat." Anko pointed at Yuki. "My name is Yuki Hanko. My likes are snow, winter, and the dawn. My dislikes are summer, fire, and lightning. My hobbies are studying snowflakes and making new ones. My dream is for the world to be covered by snow." Her voice was gentle but cold like ice. "Damn, it's Chion, the snow goddess." Anko stared. "Blondie, you're next." Naruto cleared his throat. "My name is Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki. My likes are my parents, training, hanging out with my friends, and other bunches of crap you don't want to know. My dislikes are traitors, the Titans, Duck Ass, and the Pink Banshee. My hobbies are my own and my dream is secret. Anko then explained to them about the survival test and to come to the training ground tomorrow. She turned around to leave but then turned around to block a kunai. It was Ritsu with a malicious grin on her face. Time for you to die. She took out several kunai weapons and threw it accurately at Anko. Anko deflected them with her kunai. Naruto was by her side with a grin. Ritsu is actually an idea, spirit of ruthlessness, shamelessness, and unforgiveness. Mitsuki is Chion, the snow goddess, and Mizuki is Selene, goddess of the moon. They are all titans and will be damn removed from my to-kill list. Ritsu started to glow a black glow and transformed into her god form. She had long silver hair, crimson red eyes, pale skin, and a deadly, ruthless aura. She wore a black armor with a crimson design on her stomach, sharp nails, black pants, and black boots. She had a scythe in her hand with blood dripping from the blade. Dedesho den Elios Odin rip sas se comedia, Geos tes Artemidos. She shouted in Greek, Translation. I will show no mercy when I rip you into pieces, son of Artemis. Anko looked confused. What the hell did she say? Naruto smirked. Let's get the party started. He dashed towards the spirit and took out another katana. It was bright and glowing with a peaceful aura. The blade was curved at the tip and there was a symbol of a white dragon on the handle. Naruto slashed at her but was blocked by silver, glowing staff. He looked up and said, well, moon bitch. Are you going to take back what you said about my mother? Or we can do it the hard way. The owner of the staff was gorgeous silver-haired woman. Her hair was up to her slender, perfectly curved hips and her skin was pale but radiated the moon's glow. She wore a beautiful silver armor with a crescent on her stomach. She wore a long silver skirt and gray boots. Her nails were blue and her eyes were silver as well. You will not harm her. Naruto smirked and did a side kick to her stomach. She dodged it and smacked him in the head. Naruto dodged it and stuck out his tongue. Chakra no Nawa. Chakra ropes of chakra extended from his body and wrapped around the two women. Suddenly a gust of cold wind came out of nowhere. Naruto smirked and turned into a body of ice. The chakra ropes were still there though. A white-haired woman growled. She had cold blue eyes and long white hair. She wore a white armor with light blue snowflake on her stomach. She wore a long white skirt, white boots, and had a bow and arrow in her hands. Naruto appeared next to Anko who was too shocked to even move. Come on, Anko-san. Let's kick some fucking ass. Anko finally grinned and took out a kunai. Prepare, bitches. The Namikaze Uzumaki Mitarashi duo will pummel you to the ground and make you beg for mercy. Naruto released the chakra ropes and prepared his katana. The three Titan goddesses prepared their weapons. Naruto grinned like crazy. Ready. Naruto and Anko took a stance. Set. The three women took a stance. Go. Then they charged. The Angel of Eternal Rest. I need to stop. Naruto. What? But we were getting to the good part. The Angel of Eternal Rest. Too bad. Besides it doesn't hurt to leave a cliffy. Naruto. It does hurt. The Angel of Eternal Rest. To you. Anyway, here's a preview. Movie screen pops out of nowhere. Preview. Kaden. Ruka no Jutsu. The sound of an explosion resounded through Konaha. Ino and company dashed to rescue their friend. Sweden. Debakufu no Jutsu. Shit. Anko. Naruto dashed and slashed at Selene. Ichor. Blood of the Titans and gods, oozed out. Hiraishin no Jutsu. Naruto. A silver light enveloped Naruto. Wake up, son. End preview. The Angel of Eternal Rest. Tune in next time. Naruto. And you better fucking update faster next time. The Angel of Eternal Rest. Shut up. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.